high-paying jobs are. And if you have, we have a sort of interesting downtown has this grid with many, many intersections. Whereas Westchase, for example, doesn't quite have a grid and has blocks that are probably half a mile to walk around them or more. And so so the number of intersections talks about how many people can get in and out of this place and move around it, which means that eventually you have to move to other forms of transportation, walking, biking, transit, and so forth. So you have to be constantly moving in that direction with these cores. So here's our cores. These are the top 25 job centers in the Houston region. We get these numbers from HJC, and I have to say we have new numbers from them, and they may be a little bit different from this little older map, but basically this will continue to be true. And so you see that we have a sort of hierarchy. That's still the biggest one downtown, and then we have the Medical Center, Greenway Plaza, Galleria, Westchase, Energy Corridor, and Greenspoint. These places are, each one of them has more jobs than downtown Miami or downtown San Antonio or downtown lots of places. They're huge places. And if you look at the green circles around them, which are 5 miles in radius, you'll see that that 75% of all the jobs in the whole region are in those green areas right there. So almost all inside Harris County. And 60% of all the residents live in those green areas. This is the metro service area, so you get an idea that it actually does cover almost everything. And the city of Houston, which again covers almost everything. Many of these places out there actually are this bizarre little annexation thing they do, and are the city of Houston. And this was the 2035 rail plan, which you can see its intent was to connect those places together to deal with this issue that RCL presents. This was supposed to be this much in service this year. This was the 2012 plan. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And what we have and what's under construction is this, and that probably is going to be it for us for a long time, if not forever. This is just an interesting map. If you want to look at that, just want to take away all the political boundaries and see where everybody is clustered. That's what it looks like. Very dark being very dense, and very light being not so much. As a result, we use more land per person than any of these cities here, and so it puts us up here in terms of energy use per person compared to all these other cities. We also have more carbon emissions per person than any other city or region on the planet. And by the way, going across the bottom is population density in all these maps, and whatever the number. In this place, vehicle miles traveled per household. This is Houston, tops on the planet. This is what happens in a way because of all that. This is vehicle miles traveled per household in our region. So here's the loop, and then we go further out. And the green places, not so much vehicle travel, and out here is a whole lot of vehicle travel. And that's roughly the way we've designed this place. Again, here is Houston at the top of the gasoline consumption per person, with Tokyo and Hong Kong being over here. Energy consumption per person, again, Houston up at the top. One of the interesting things to pay attention to here is if you say, well, we need to fix that, it doesn't mean we need to be looking like Hong Kong. If we want to make huge strides, we only go down here. It's not a big deal to go to this kind of population density, and we never need to think about this kind of population density. So then Houston was designed around the cars, what we all say, well, it was not. It was designed around this thing, which was the first transit service there was. And so here's the streetcar system that we had up until 1927, around which all of these neighborhoods were built. The Heights, West 5th Ward, and so forth, all Bel Air, all of this was built around this streetcar system, which has now vanished, and we'll never see a transit system like that again. And then we did what I call social engineering Plan B, to get people to stop doing that and start driving cars and living far from the downtown. Now it's projected we'll have 4 million more people coming to the region by 2040. We're at 6 million now, so that would be a total of 10 million people. And the land, this is the land use map in 2005. This is again from HJC. And the red and yellow are occupied, they're either industrial, commercial, or residential. And the green is green, undeveloped land. So that's 2005, this is 2035, And so you can see what is projected to happen, which is essentially all of the forest in Montgomery County is gone, all the green space in Harris County is gone, except what is already dedicated to parks and so on, or to the ship channel or whatever. And we'll lose massive amounts of green space of all different kinds. So Stephen Kleinberg has been doing this, you all know about the survey, the Houston Area Survey, and asking questions over a period of time. People who want a single family home with a big yard and they need to drive versus they want a smaller home that's more urbanized and walking distance. And you can see that over the last 4 years, these have flipped. We now have a majority of people in the region who want to live in urban circumstances. And over here, against a single family residential area versus a mix of developments that's always been sort of close, but now it's a tie with the ladder coming up. In the city of Houston, 62% of people want to live in the urban, sort of walkable kind of environment. And here we see people over time, whether they want to move to the city as opposed to move. Well, this is, if you live in the suburbs and want to move to the city, that's a number that's been rising. And if you live in the city and want to move to the suburbs, that's a number that's been falling. And in terms of transit support, we've got to question all of this stuff now, considering what happened on November 6th. People say it's very important to have an improved transit system, and the 55% said we should spend Metro's money on transit, not on roads, but in fact they voted overwhelmingly to do the opposite on November 6th. And then again, Stephen Kleinberg says, the research reveals a significant increase in the number of area residents who support mass transit and their preference for a less car-centered, more urbanized lifestyle, which we call walkable urbanism. Christopher Lineberg or Brookings has been doing the research on this, and he says this is a concept that's on the rise everywhere in America, and drivable suburbanism is a concept that's in decline everywhere. And that the market share, and this is a couple of years ago, for the walkable urban is people, about 35 to 50% of people who want that, but there's only a 5% availability, so it's a huge demand-supply problem.